Welcome back in Billiken fans, season 2, episode 2 of the Midtown Madness podcast with Peter Hale and Zach Miller. I'm Zach Miller, as you know. Peter Hale's with me, and we are coming off probably the best week we've had, I think, since we started doing this about 6 months ago. I mean, just positive reaction after positive reaction, great feedback. And let me double check the numbers real quick. I don't have them in front of me. All I know is that we did 301 listens on audio only. And then on YouTube, we had, oh goodness gracious. Pete, what, I mean, 300 listens just on audio only, man. That's incredible.
It's great to hear. I mean, that's, I knew we'd get a nice little bump from having Ford on the show, and to see the support. I mean, it's definitely reached some people. So it's just really exciting to see. I think YouTube was at like 125 last I saw.
130. So we had 431 total views. That has outperformed every episode by at least 100 views. I can tell you that. So thank you. First of all, like I posted on my Instagram, thank you to Ford Stewin for legitimizing me when he came on the house that Rick built. Thank you to Bill McDermott for coming on, Kevin Lish, Phil Forte, Katie Shields. Thank you to all these coaches that have come on and taken a chance on us, that we are here to shed a positive light on these programs while still being fans and, have that passionate impartiality, I think is a good way to describe it.
Yeah, I impartiality might be a stretch.
Well, okay. Let's say impartiality to the performance, right? We're here to criticize when criticizing is warranted, but we're here to also celebrate our fanhood and celebrate everyone else's fanhood and bring you content that you want to hear. And I think we're proving that you and I make a good team and are putting out good content enough that these coaches are willing to take a shot on a couple of message board morons.
Yeah, I think we've got a good spot, being unofficial and not affiliated with the university or the athletic department in any way on an official level. Both of us have experience within the department, though. We have plenty of contacts of people who have been around the programs for a long time. As we saw in like the Tony Breitbach interview, to name another person who came on and legitimized us,
exactly.
and who's a staff member at SLU and knows everybody and is just such a SLU guy through and through. We just I think we've kind of found a really good niche, and hopefully after the Ford interview, people come back and keep listening, and we'll keep working as hard as we can to put good stuff out and hopefully deliver some more good shows.
Yeah, I'm super pumped. Do you have a specific part of that Ford interview that really stands out as your favorite?
Wow. A specific part, I think,
or just a moment,
if I had to pick one moment, maybe him saying that he was the best shooter on the staff, followed by Tate. I thought that was kind of a nice jab at some of the younger guys on the staff. But no, I think the thing that stood out to me the most was just how candid he was about some of the the things that they go through, some of their processes. Like he really got into the sort of I think he called it the gamesmanship around scheduling, and what a tricky game that is that everybody plays. I thought that was really fascinating. having seen that, but just to have someone acknowledge that outright was really cool. What about you?
I thought it was hilarious. I love the sixth man stuff. I mean, like, guys, my Tinder profile said, I like sports, I like movies, I like sports movies. That's all it says. So when we got to talk about the sixth man, that was the coolest thing. The anecdote that I thought was amazing though, outside of that, was I really loved his mom was the coach for 1 year, and his dad would send him down with notes to, like, that's so funny. That is.
Yeah, and that she wound up being a pretty winning coach and recognized with awards. And she's like, I didn't want to do this. I don't want to do this anymore. But she clearly was doing something right, because even if you're getting fed, notes and X's and O's behind the bench, you still have to be doing something right to lead a team. So that was pretty funny.
Before I forget, when we get into the weeds of the schedule and the other sports, I just need to give a couple of shout outs. First of all, Michael Wilson, great friend of the show. He hooked us up with the wristbands that the team is wearing, that has Coach Fort Stewan's mantra, "The journey is the reward." He was kind enough to make that happen for me and Pete. I'll be sending Pete's out here this week when I get a minute. But and then, as well as Petey Cottilli, he hooked me up with the 25th anniversary women's soccer tank top that I promised I'd wear on every episode until basketball season, as well as my new background jersey for this episode. So thank you to both of those guys. And especially Mike Wilson, because I mean, that's a coach, that's a team thing. And to think enough of us to invite us into that circle is really, really thoughtful.
Yeah, a lot of great people involved in the program, and really appreciate all the attention and positive feedback we've been getting. So thank you sincerely to everybody listening and supporting us in any way.
We've got big basketball news. To be fair, you had sussed out most of this schedule. And let's be clear, that was all Peter. Zach's not good at following the social medias. For real information anyway. I do the funny semi-pro gifts and all that stuff. So Pete, we got a schedule, man. By the way, the athletic department held this schedule hostage. I just want to point that out. They held it hostage for likes and retweets.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do. We play the game on social media sometimes too.
you gotta play that social media game. But
yeah.
No, and we've talked about it. We talked about it with Coach Ford. This is a hell of a schedule, man.
Yeah, I think when we talked to him, we had basically put this all together with the exception of like 3 games. And then he hinted that they had kind of moved a couple things around. He gave us an indication that they were going to have those 3 games in 4 days, which we knew were going to be November 9th and 12th, and then 1 day in between. And I think at that point, we still didn't know what day Belmont was going to be, but he kind of hinted that it was going to be in December between some of those Saturday home games. And my assumption was that it would be between UAB and Boston College, rather than Boston College and Auburn. At least I was hoping it would be that way, because I think Auburn's a bigger test. And that wound up being the case. They're on Tuesday, the 7th at home. So this is a great schedule. It's top to bottom. It's an awesome schedule. I think they did a fantastic job with this. And it's thrilling to see it come out in official capacity and not just have us kind of, trying to piece the puzzle together as other teams roll out their schedule, or as basketball writers tweet out little events here and there. So I'm really excited about this schedule.
I think all the fans have one question about this schedule. Does Rockhurst count?
Rockhurst and Lindenwood do not count in any way because they're exhibition games. But Harris Stowe is another non-D1 opponent that we will be playing. They're the middle game of that 3 games and 4 game stretch. 3 games in 4-day stretch, I should say, and not being D1. They will count against our overall wins and loss that gets, published on websites and the newspaper and everything, but they won't count against our net rating, our NCAA tournament consideration.
The heated Cross-Compton rivalry returns to Chaffetz in 2021.
Yeah, I love it.
Let's run this down. Let's get into the weeds here. First of all, the exhibitions, just maybe a quick word on Rockhurst and Lindenwood. Do you like these two as an exhibition? I tend to always like NAIA teams just because it gives you tend to run into like 28-year-olds and stuff like that. You run into guys that, shouldn't really be playing college basketball, but are. And I think it gives you a totally different dynamic. What about you?
Yeah, I like it too. I mean, it's good to kind of have one of each. Rockhurst is D2. And then Lindenwood, NAIA. Lindenwood, I think they've kind of talked about going to the NCAA. I don't know if that's actually officially in the works or if they're still just kind of, mulling it over.
I think a lot of it has to hinge on hockey.
Okay.
And I think they do have NCAA sports. I think it might be hockey. I think hockey is NCAA for men and women, and that might be it.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, I mean, nevertheless, I like this one. I like Lindenwood because at their level, they're a very good program. And then there's a lot of common sort of DNA with SLU, both Brad and Kramer Soderberg were at Lindenwood for various times. And then, obviously Earl Austin went there and is a Lindenwood legend. So yeah, you like it. They're local. And so anybody who's on their roster or coaching staff who's local will obviously have as many people there as possible. So I love it. And then Rockhurst is great because, D2 is, a big step up, obviously. And they're coached by Drew Diener, who played at SLU when I was there. And Drew's a great guy. And, it'll be great to kind of see him on the sidelines.
I gotta amend NCAA Division II. Both teams will be NCAA Division II. Yeah, okay. Lindenwood has moved up, and I think they have talked about hockey moving to Division I. So
I knew that's one of those things that I kind of read a while back and never followed up on. So I know that's a fairly recent development. But yeah, I mean, Lindenwood's one of these schools that has been so good at their level for such a long time. They're absolutely gonna, I'm sure, thrive at that level. So yeah, these are two really solid exhibition games, and the way that it was originally, I think it was an email that went out to season ticket holders that Lindenwood was going to be on the 27th, and then Rockhurst was going to be, I think, November 2nd, and then Coach Ford talked about they wound up moving both of the dates, so now Rockhurst is the 26th, and Lindenwood's actually on Sunday afternoon, Halloween, at 3 p.m. So depending on how that one goes, I'm sure some people will have to leave a little early and go get their kids ready for trick-or-treating.
The Billikens open up the season officially on November 9th. Central Arkansas. This seems to be a common thread. I kind of got into it with Travis about how a team like Central Arkansas just continues to show up, and apparently Central Arkansas likes to come to St. Louis. Yeah.
Is this the third time in 4 years or something, like third time in a row?
Yes. And they show up a bit on the men. They show up on the men's soccer schedule quite a bit as well.
Yeah. It's just kind of one of those things. Coach Ford said there was really nothing to it more than, they seem to be the most willing when there's an open date. Because I know teams will post, there's kind of like a common website where they all post, we're looking for somebody to come play us at home on this date. And UCA seems to pick up the phone the most when it comes to that. So I think the most exciting thing about this one is that we have seen them a couple times recently, and DeAndre Jones, who is Central Arkansas's all-time assists and steals leader, is now taking a grad transfer season at SLU. So he's going to face a lot of guys that he played with last season. So that's easily the most fun storyline there.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. I think a lot of fun as a side note to that game outside of, just playing final score. Then you get into the Harris Stowe the next night. What do you think we see in this game? I mean, and I'm not talking about, win or loss. I'm talking you play back to back. Are we going to treat this, like an English football team treats it as I don't like, are we playing the reserves in this game? It's interesting to play back to back, or do you go full tilt personally in your end?
I mean, we've talked already about the depth of our roster, so I think you have to play guys on shorter minutes in this one. The other thing I want to kind of point out about this game is we normally, historically, you wind up with 18 home games of any kind, including exhibitions, anything, 18 home games for the season ticket holders. And we have, between this non-conference schedule and our conference schedule, this year we have 19. So I look at this Harris Stowe game. You can also look at one of the exhibitions like this, but we basically have a bonus game in here. One extra game for everybody to get, in an official capacity, come out, see everybody play. So this is the one that I kind of have circled as just a bonus game. There's no downside to it. It's not like we're playing the team that's going to be 350th in the net rankings or anything like that. It doesn't affect our NCAA tournament profile. The fact that it's 3 games in 4 days, I mean, there's no way you can play your starters 30 minutes, 3 times in a row. But it kind of signals to me that, Goodwin and French aren't here anymore. We're probably getting away from that. And I think being a little more offensive minded team that can go a little bit deeper, I wouldn't expect anybody to play 30 minutes in that game.
We've got an interesting storyline in the next game. There's a lot of cool storylines, man, just throughout this entire schedule. But Eastern Illinois is close to our hearts. We got Jack Raboyne coming back to Chaffetz for the first time.
Yeah, he's on the coaching staff there now. I think you guys talked to him on the previous show, and he was just starting to branch out into what his potential in coaching might be. So it's great to see him having landed a spot and get started, and it'll be cool to see him, and hopefully we can talk to him leading up to that.
Yeah, I don't know how it happened, but somehow Jack and I have become like texting buddies. Like we just text randomly. I think it started with women's soccer, maybe because I think his girlfriend, or I know his girlfriend at the time, was on the team. I don't know if they're still dating, but yeah, I talked to him. He said he would be excited to come on. I said I just had to check because I didn't know if Marty Simmons would have an issue with that, but he's like, no, Marty gets it, and which is really cool to hear that Marty understands that this game's close to Jack's heart, and that he wants to get on a podcast and talk about it. Yeah,
I mean, Marty Simmons is kind of the other storyline here,
yep.
And it is great that he's open to that, because he is the new coach, and Eastern Illinois, we know, had for years Jay Spoonhour was the coach. So even if the old staff were there, we would still have some kind of common DNA with SLU. So this is a team that struggled a bit last season, losing record. They're actually, they're in the Ohio Valley, which is a deceptively tough conference, with Belmont at the top. And so this will no doubt be a learning year for them. But this stretch of our schedule, the challenge is that it's so compressed, but these are probably the 3 easiest games on the schedule too. So I think they'll all be really good tune-ups for our team, and hopefully nobody threatens us there.
We talk about the 3 easiest games on the schedule. Let's talk about the marquee game on this schedule. We've been talking about this game since 2019. We finally are going to get a crack at Memphis. I wish it would have happened last year, but it's happening this year. Pete, let's talk Penny Hardaway, Rasheed Wallace, Larry Brown, Amani Bates, and the Memphis Tigers.
Yeah, so the big story here is, and Ford was right. I mean, when we talked to him, he said by the time we play them, they're going to have more 5 stars, and he was absolutely right. Because since then, Imani Bates, who is considered one of the best high school prospects, or who was, I guess, one of the best high school prospects in the country, committed to Memphis. And I guess he's already signed and heading there. So Bates was a 2022 recruit, meaning he would be a high school senior this year. And I guess had enough between, I know he had gone to a prep school or something and had enough credits to graduate. So he went early and decided to go to Memphis. He had originally committed to Michigan State as like a sophomore or out of his sophomore season. Decommitted, reclassified, and then Michigan State was one of his finalists, but in the past few weeks, it became kind of clear that he was going to go to Memphis. It's a big deal because for a while he was considered the best prospect regardless of class in high school, and he was an underclassman at the time. He's like a 6'9", 200-pound kind of Swiss Army knife dude who can just do anything, play any position, guard any position. He can really do it all. We'll see how he translates to the college game early on. I mean, luckily we're playing them early in the season because Bates is one of these guys he's only 17. His ceiling is unlimited, but he's young, so we'll find out. But the other guy that really scares me, who they've got who's new, Jalen Duran, who, if you were tracking Brad Beal Elite in the Peach Jam, team final is the team that beat them in the finals, and Duran was a big reason why. He's probably 6'10", about 230, 235. He's also young, incoming freshman, but I mean, he's ready to go for the college game. Absolutely. And that's just their freshmen. I mean, Memphis returns a bunch of guys who are really good too. I really like Lester Quinones, who can really shoot it. They've got players everywhere on the floor. They're big. They're very, very big. Frequently you'll see a lineup out there where nobody's shorter than 6'6". And so knowing that on our roster, we don't have a ton of size. We've got Okoro, we've got Linson, we've got an incoming freshman big who we've talked about lately, but beyond that, we don't have much size at all. So it's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be a big test. I know others have said it. It's one of these games you wish you had Goodwin and French, because Memphis is a team you can probably frustrate into a lot of turnovers. Young haven't played together. They're big, but maybe not quite as physical as they could be. So we don't have them anymore, and we'll see how we match up, but it should be a fun one.
Let's go kind of high level overview to steal the corporate jargon on the Cancun Challenge. This turned out a little bit better than people, had thought early on.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it's one of those, there's not really marquee names in this event, but there's nobody who's kind of bad in here either. We play Mercer at home, and then we go down there and play Illinois State. Illinois State's a little bit they're kind of in a transition. They lost some key guys to transfer last season, and they weren't very good last year. So they're a bottom half Valley team again this year. But Mercer is kind of a team that you can't sleep on. They're another team that's in a deceptively good conference. They're the kind of team that every once in a while just has enough veterans to kind of surprise people. And then you wind up with Buffalo or Stephen F. Austin in the final if you beat Illinois State, and those are both solid teams too. So yeah, you've got to I like the event. Good to get out of your gym and play some neutral floor games as well.
Yeah, Buffalo is an interesting prospect. You have Jim Weitzel.
Yeah, Jim Weitzel, former SLU staff member, and then Buffalo was in the NIT alongside us last year, so they were kind of a similar tier team in the net ratings. I think probably some people are going to pick them to win the MAC this season, which is always a pretty solid conference. So yeah, Buffalo can't be slept on by any means.
We're going to kind of, move past. I mean, Boise State and UAB are solid teams. Those are teams you want to have on your schedule when you're a smaller school, a smaller program, so to speak. if you can't get the big boys, get some solid teams your own size. And I think UAB and Boise and Belmont are that. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. These are, after that kind of early part of our schedule, everybody is a team that is really, it's going to help our rankings. And these teams are that. They're going to all be in kind of that. Well, Belmont won't. Belmont's a top 50 team for sure in the net ratings. But like these other ones, it depends on kind of how UAB comes together. Coach Ford told us over and over that they were bringing in all these transfers who were great at all of the other schools they're coming from, but it all depends on how they play together, in the end. But they've got a lot of talent. Boise State, again, they were in the NIT last season, so they were that level of team, and they should be about that again. Belmont, I think, could sneakily be maybe our toughest game. Memphis obviously is the most talented team we'll play. And they're the preseason darlings, and everybody's paying attention to them right now. Belmont is a team that went 26-4 last season, 18-2 in their conference. Because of the scheduling chaos in the beginning of the season, they were one of these teams that kind of got left with no good games on their schedule. But all they did was then beat everybody on that schedule. They didn't get any love from the NCAA Conference Tournament, but they bring everybody back from a team that averaged 80-something points, that had 5 guys who scored double digits, and their 6th man scored 9.5 points a game. They bring everybody back. So they're going to be, I think they're like a Sweet 16 level team this year because they're full of veterans and they play well together. So don't be surprised if that winds up being our toughest game.
Talk to me about Boston College Auburn. These are 2 very interesting games because they're 2 quote unquote power conference teams. You have ACC in Boston College and you have Auburn who's in the SEC. But this Auburn team is very, very different than the Auburn team we went down and played a couple years ago. And this Boston College team is still trying to rebuild. These are going to look good in that if we win them, we beat a power conference team, but these could be problematic if things don't go well.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Boston College, they were last year. I think they went like 4-16. They only played like 20 games. They, obviously COVID was a tough thing on everybody. I know they got hit by it and playing so few games, and I don't know. They wound up being kind of in the basement of the ACC. I don't expect them to make a huge leap this year. They're going to be a little better. But it's a game at home that we definitely need to win if we're a tournament team. But this is a hard schedule. Boston College is an ACC team, but it's weird to kind of look at that and think like, well, we have to win that one because that's after the Belmont game, which is it's probably our arguably with Auburn. I think Belmont's the better game. Belmont's probably our toughest home game this year. And then, the game after that is Auburn, who has great talent. They've turned over their roster a little bit since we saw them, but they've got some pretty incredible players. They've got a Smith. I'm trying to remember his fresh name, Jamari Smith, I want to say. Freshman coming in who's great. He was a 5-star. So Bruce Pearl always finds guys who can play. He got hit by a few transfers out, but Auburn will be good again. They should be a top half SEC team.
All right, I'm going to task you to give me the 3 most exciting games for you on this schedule and why. Give me just one reason, kind of a word association as to why.
Okay. Well, Belmont, I'll give you that one. Just experience. If I have to give you one word, I already went over that one. Memphis, excitement. And then I guess I'll go Drake.
You know what? I freaking forgot to bring up Drake. I got so excited about my new little game I was going to play.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and talk Drake because that's on my list too.
I think didn't Ford call them the oldest team in the country?
They are.
Yeah.
If everybody recalls, I believe they went undefeated for a long stretch last season.
I want to say 18-0 is where it ended in their 19th game, if memory serves. The Valley did a weird thing last year where, because with COVID, they were playing 2 games at a time. They were playing like back-to-back games against all their opponents. So even in those weird schedule circumstances, Drake was playing pretty well all the way into conference. They bring back everybody except one guard who got hot at the end of the year and he transferred to KU. But they've got some nice freshmen coming in. They've got another transfer coming in, and obviously, like Belmont, depth, experience, a really good team. You can't ever expect a team to go 18-0 again, but overall, by the end of the season, they should be better than they were last year.
Yeah, their first loss was to Valparaiso on the second half of a back-to-back.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's impressive to continually go undefeated in back-to-backs, because it's so hard to win 2 games in a row against the same team.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I stole 3 pretty good ones. Give me 3 more.
Well, I got Drake just because Vegas, baby. I like the potential of playing Buffalo excites me. I think Buffalo is just the most underrated team on this schedule. And then I love, and I'm just gonna go off book because you gave me good ones. I'm gonna say UAB, the rekindling of the Conference USA rivalry. We don't have to go down to Birmingham for that one, where it seemed like Billiken losses go to happen. So I'm excited about that one. I'm excited to see the Blazers back in town.
Yeah, me too. I mean, excited. I was never excited for that game when we were actually in Conference USA with them.
No.
I always dreaded it. For whatever reason, they just I know we have an all-time losing record against them. We were in Conference USA with them. We were in the conference before was the Great Midwest. We were in that with them for like 5 seasons. So we had that history in kind of the 80s and 90s into the mid-aughts is when we played UAB every season. And just, I think all time we're probably like 7-11 against them. Always hard-fought games, always struggled, especially when we went on the road. And then this year, they've got Andy Kennedy as their head coach. He's one of their best all-time players, and he's kind of a tough, mean dude who he just knows how to motivate guys and put tough teams together. He comes out of Bob Huggins' coaching tree, and so you can expect a bit of that. And yeah, he's got a lot of players who could score this year. So it's a team I would rather play in November. But they're certainly going to be good.
Yeah, this non-conference schedule is going to be fun across the board. It doesn't matter who we're playing, and hopefully, God willing, we're packing Chaffetz Arena here in November.
I really hope so. I hope things take another turn for the better, and that we get this thing under control. If I had to choose, though, I would still rather play the games and keep the fans away than cancel games.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make it all or nothing in terms of like fans being there, but I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever go back to all or nothing. I think they'll if they have to figure out something else, they'll figure out a way to get, season ticket holders or whatnot in the arena. Yeah. I think they'll figure something out. We've got alumni news. Hassan French not going to Greece. In fact, he's going to the mountainous country of Slovenia.
Yeah, which I hear is beautiful. And good for him. I'm glad that he's landed somewhere, and he's already over there. He's already practicing, and I haven't taken a look at like what their schedule looks like or anything like that, but he's there and seems to be adjusting. I keep checking out his Instagram stories, and much different flavor than when he was at SLU. So it's pretty cool to see.
He's got his dog with him.
Yeah. So he won't be lonely or anything. But yeah, that's exciting and good for Haas. Get that pro career started.
Any men's basketball news that I might have missed before we head over to men's soccer?
No, I think it was pretty much the schedule this week, and just again at a high level. This is a really good schedule. Everybody should be really excited. Season ticket holders, keep in mind you're getting a bonus game this year, and they've done an increasingly good job every year of making sure that every game is broadcast somewhere we can see it. So we should be really excited about the schedule.
A little men's soccer, men's basketball crossover. Well, men's soccer and every other sport crossover. Got to give a shout out. I went to the men's soccer game against Louisville Thursday night, and man, were the men's basketball team having fun out there up in the stands, and women's basketball was there sporting, field hockey was there sporting. So good to see the cross support among the athletic department. And speaking of Louisville and men's soccer, a fantastic finish in this one, Pete.
Yeah.
Billikens win 2-1 in the second extra time on Simon Betcher's second goal of the game. Pete, talk to me about this game, man. This was fun.
That goal that he won it on, it was one of those highlights where I had to watch it like 12 times to make sure I saw it right, because it was such a tricky angle. It was a free kick came in, kind of from the side, kind of corner of the box extended, and he was angled. Betcher was kind of running away from the net and then kind of just angled his head perfectly, so he deflected it in the near post. It was a really unusual angle and finish, and it was thrilling to get that in the 108th minute after such a hard fought game. It was awesome.
Yeah, I actually was at the very other end of the field. I was kind of not beating traffic, but it was late, and I wanted to get home as soon as the game ended. So, I saw it. It was a great view of the goal, but I wasn't as close as I could have been. I thought the first goal was one of the easiest goals. I could have probably scored that, but probably not. I mean, I knew as soon as the ball was in the air, it was headed right to Betcher, and Betcher was wide open in the box in that corner kick. The goal from Louisville, though, I mean, credit where credit is due. A step over, cut to the left, and this ball was in the back of the net. Nothing anybody, including Patrick Schulte, could do about it. Maybe it could have been closed down better. I don't know. But regardless, the Billikens go on and win in the second overtime period. Kind of unusual to see an extra time winner, especially in college. Usually those are kind of cagey 20 minutes, and nobody really goes for the win. So credit to SLU.
Yeah. I mean, taking advantage of the set piece off a foul for sure. No, was this game, not having seen the entire game, that fantastic goal was the only thing they put on net. Louisville did not get any corner kicks. SLU had 5. Was this a game that SLU kind of outplayed them? Would you say most of the time?
Yeah, I think so. I think SLU's high press really did a number on Louisville. I've been corrected all week on how to say Louisville. Louisville. So yeah, no, SLU was outstanding in this game. I thought, I didn't see any problem with it. I wish they would have won by more, and I wish they wouldn't have given up that goal, but it is what it is. It was a great goal. Celebration was a little out there for that guy, but, and we got to talk about the knee slide. If we're talking about celebrations, Betcher's knee slide was nice. It was no Alex Sweeten though.
It's Premier League just restarted. These guys are watching. For the knee slides, you've got to get in mid-season form as quickly as possible. So got to take that inspiration wherever you can.
Is the knee slide your favorite soccer goal celebration?
I love Cristiano Ronaldo's just because it's so absurd and
Yeah.
goofy, and it's like the perfect encapsulation of how that dude sees himself, and he just it's great. It's um I like it in an ironic way, I guess I would say. But I kind of, yeah, I mean, the knee slide's hard to beat. Come on, it's great. It's so it gives perfect camera angles and wide angle shots, and you get the audience, you get the team rushing in. I mean, those guys know what they're doing. Come on.
I'm a big do something with the corner flag guy. Like I like if you kick the corner flag or smack the corner flag. Like or if you knee slide and smack the corner flag, I'm that's the jackpot right there for celebrations.
Yeah, pick up the corner flag, throw it like a javelin. I don't. I see. I don't know. Having seen so much NFL and like that stuff get penalized over the years, I don't know like what's the line in soccer, what's allowable.
I think it's a yellow card. It's got to be a yellow card if you pick up the flag.
I don't even know.
I mean, if you get a yellow card for taking off your shirt, you definitely get a yellow card for throwing the quarter flag like a javelin.
Yeah.
Big game today for the Billikens as well. They defeated Creighton. They dominated Creighton from the first kick. 4-0 win. This game was so much fun to be at, outside of the fact that it was hotter than hell.
Yeah. It was hot here too. Sunny day there. I knew how hot it was. I'm sure it was just brutal. We talked about last time how Herman could really use like an awning, an overhang, and today was definitely the day for that.
Oh yeah. But the 4-0 win, AJ Palazzolo, the transfer from Indiana, gets on the board in the 25th minute. Seth Anderson, or as I called him, Mr. Anderson, 33rd minute, also opens up his Billiken account. Johnny Klein in the 57th minute on one of the strangest goals you'll ever see. I mean, well, not really strange, but just the turnover, and then him and Betcher just passed it back and forth and ended up goalie was nowhere to be found, and Klein buried it. Either one of them could have scored that goal, but it was Betcher giving it up. And then Daniel Moore, little used Daniel Moore, scores in the 80th minute. This was awesome. This game was great. The Billikens looked like they could run the pressing, the high press that they tried to run in 2019, and they would fizzle, as I said on Twitter. But now they have the depth. We talked about their depth, and it's working for them.
Yeah, they played. So this is when I turned on at halftime today. So I saw the first 2 goals as highlights, and then I saw the rest of it live. From what I saw, Creighton is a shell of themselves. I don't know if they're just having a down year or what, but this is not the level of program that you're used to with Creighton. And SLU just played good, confident, collective soccer. I mean, they played so well as a unit. They've got a little swagger back when it comes to being aggressive, to really going at the net and being more of an attacking team. In the first half, the two goals, I loved Wilkinson's kind of lob over to Anderson. Just really set him up nicely for a one-on-one with the keeper, and he crossed the net and put it in. Palazzolo, that was a really impressive show of poise. I think he was kind of surrounded by Creighton defenders and had to kind of collect the ball, turn around. I don't think any of them thought he was going to shoot. They really looked like they were caught on their heels. And it looked so bad for Creighton's defense because he just put that through so many people, both receiving the ball, turning and putting it in. 2 really great first half goals.
Yeah, definitely. And what I noticed was Anderson really took advantage of some less than stellar organization on the back line for Creighton. I thought not only was the high press and the aggressiveness to get the ball back super impressive, but I thought the positioning of the rest of the team. And they really didn't allow Creighton anything through the middle of the field. And Creighton was just resigned to playing balls over the top. And again, you had the wing backs in, it was Mujib Marana and, Isaiah, maybe, I think, on the wing backs were just fantastic in this game. There were several times where it looked like Creighton was going to have an opportunity in on net, and they snuffed it out real fast, recovering nicely.
Yeah, I mean, they frustrated Creighton in every facet of the game. Another thing that stood out to me on that goal that you had mentioned earlier between Klein and Betcher, who either one of them could have had the goal or the assist. It was nuts. They had all day. Betcher, just a few minutes before that, earlier in the second half, he had gotten in the box kind of at a tough angle on the right-hand side, and had a guy trailing him with an open look at the net, and decided to take it himself at the tough angle and missed. And I was kind of like, oh no. So he's got 2 goals in the first game. He's feeling it. He's not going to be passing. And then of course you get that goal a few minutes later where it looked like neither one of them wanted to shoot. And I'm just screaming, shoot, 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 every time one of them touched it. So maybe he's not going to be, he's maybe a little more unselfish than I thought he'd be. But like I said, it's so good to have them playing with swagger, like even as they've been getting a little bit better over the last couple seasons, and then coming off kind of a long period of just not really playing a confident or attacking style at all. This version of SLU soccer today was awesome to see, awesome to watch. I kind of felt like I was back in like 2001, 2002, when we had a lot of guys who were just scoring a lot.
Yeah, that goal that Klein scored was completely set up by Betcher and his high press and his ability to turn them over. This SLU team is going to go very far if they can continue to turn teams over and continue to press and deny the middle of the field from these teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've got a solid non-conference schedule that they can kind of build their profile against. And A10's good this year. I mean, Fordham's good again. Davidson has a win over a ranked team. So there's a few teams who are really threats in that conference. And if somebody can win that regular season, I think they got to be a lock for the tournament. Yeah.
Personal shout out before we get to the upcoming games. My semi-distant cousin Sam Rowan got in the game today. So congrats to him, and he played well. And he's now following the podcast on Twitter. So thanks, Sam, for following us on Twitter. Upcoming games, we have a few, and I want to let people know that we will not be releasing take that back. We will be releasing the Kevin Lish episode, this part 2 of Kevin Lish, this coming Monday, the Monday after this episode is released, because there's no way I'm going to be in any shape to record on Sunday night. So we're going to go ahead and with every sport, we're going to preview ahead to the week, another week out. So first off, on September 3rd, we have University of Illinois, Chicago. It's going to be in Chicago. So shout out West Pine Bills. They'll be in attendance, I'm sure. This is a team that in 2020 went 6-3-1, but has started off this season 0-1 with a 3-1 loss to number 22 Colt of the Grand Canyon. It's a nice, not overly intimidating road test to kick off a season.
Yeah, I think so. And it's going on the road. This is the perfect game to be coming off of, to head out on the road, just dominating a kind of higher profile program like that, even if they're not having their best year, is just, that's got to put a lot of confidence behind them as they head out. No matter who you're playing on the road, it's still a road game. Anything can happen in this cruel sport where you can outplay a team for 90 minutes and just not put one in the net. So I think it's a great opportunity to grab a road win.
Memphis comes to town 9-6, September 6th. They went 2-8 last season in 2020, 2021. This season, they've started off 0-1-1, a 3-2 loss at Ohio State, a very good Ohio State team, and then a 1-1 draw against Dayton. Both these games were played in Columbus, Ohio. A rare soccer early season tournament. You don't see that often. I mean, you come back home and you get Memphis. I like it. It's a fairly big conference team, and it'll be a good test regardless of skill.
Memphis has historically been pretty good. Last year in kind of the COVID shortened season, they struggled. I think they were they were winless at home. They were like 2-8-0, I think, in a 10-game season. So not their year. They're better this season. But again, just you've got to start stacking wins now. If you're SLU, to kind of build your profile, and I think this is a good team to do it against.
Yeah, this Memphis team draws quite a bit from outside the United States. You've got guys from South Africa, Scotland, Spain, Denmark, Brazil, New Zealand, Belgium. So it's going to be interesting to see, how this team does coming off that season last year against the Billikens. Finally, we've got SMU September 10th. This is always a fun game to circle on the schedule when it comes to SLU soccer. SMU tends to be on the schedule quite a bit, and it's always a good game.
Yeah, and SMU is another team that's historically put a strong program on the field, but that's also kind of been a little bit down. Same conference as Memphis, obviously the American, and they were about 500 last season. But I expect them to be better again this year. They're not a program that stays down for long, and they're drawing from a huge and growing talent pool down in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, the last time out between the two teams was 2019. The Billikens lost that 2-0 it was in Dallas. Right now, SMU is riding high, 1-0 with a massive win over number 8 Stanford, 3-1. They actually trailed 1-0 in this game and scored 3 straight to beat the number 8 Cardinal. So both teams are kind of riding high, and hopefully both teams continue in that direction heading into this test.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. SMU, I would say they're already already showing they're better than last season with that one.
Let's move over to women's soccer. Tough go so far for the Billiken women. It's been quite a tough go. Kansas 2-0 loss. Ryland Childers scored right off the go in the first minute. Bree Severns scored in the 30th minute, and that's about all you can say about that one. I mean, boy,
yeah,
not good.
It's kind of the first game is kind of the nightmare start for this team. They looked good in exhibition. They weren't perfect. We knew they had some missing pieces for injuries and things like that. We talked about last time they played the Xavier game, the Iowa game, lose each of them 1-0 on pretty close games despite injuries, suspensions. And then you go, okay, if you go out to Kansas and grab a win there, it's kind of like, let's get this back on track quickly. The suspensions are behind us. But unfortunately, that just didn't that didn't end up being the case. I think it was a good style matchup for Kansas, and unfortunately, they start the season going 0-3 and without putting up a single goal.
Well, the good news is they've now put up 2 goals, actually. And funny enough, one of them may have not been a goal. I'm not sure. I'm still not sold that this went in the net, but we'll sure as hell take it. The Billikens win 2-0 today over Illinois State. Abby Miller scores in the 28th minute, and Emily Gaby scores in the 51st minute. You'd go and do what you got to do at Illinois State. We knew you kind of, this one was penciled in as a win. It really was. Illinois State was not gonna hold a candle to the Billikens, injuries or not. I think this is more of what you're gonna see going forward with competition level decreasing as we go into conference play.
Yeah, I would be, I'll put it this way. I would be pretty upset if I were an Illinois State fan, or
Yeah.
player or coach or anyone, about that goal. Like you said, we'll take it. Really outplayed them in the first half, outshot them 10-2, and just couldn't get one in. And then that one right on, if you want to kind of describe it, it's almost like the goalie was in the net and they kind of determined that the ball had kind of crossed over the plane, but even on the replay, it didn't look like enough.
Yeah, it was weird. I think they probably gave SLU the benefit of the doubt and just basically like, well, I don't know, stay inside the field next time, goalie. I don't really know what to tell you.
Yeah, put your feet in a better position.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Were we ready to hit the panic button before this ISU win?
Um, I was not quite there. If this were a loss, I would say, yeah, okay, that now do it, because now we're losing to teams that should have been, soundly beaten. So, no, it's not time to panic yet. Even with the 0-3 start, those are three good teams they played against. And there were injuries, suspensions, things like that. And I think you got to say, like, if they're healthier, if they're playing better soccer going into conference, they're still going to be the A10 favorite, period. So it's not like it's going to be a walk in the park. They've got a target on their back. They've beaten everybody they've played for 3 seasons now. So they're public enemy number 1 in that conference, and no one feels sorry for them in the A10. But they've still got to be the favorite, no matter what happened in this early part of the season. And like you said, they've got plenty more non-conference games coming up to right the ship.
Yeah, and I don't think they were too concerned about the non-conference in general. I mean, yes, it's a good, little feather in the cap of your season, but when it comes to sports like A10, volleyball and women's basketball and women's soccer, and even on men's soccer side, it's the non-conference is it can put you over the top, maybe barely, but for the most part, you're not going to get in that large bid.
Well, I think last year they were given a huge vote of respect from in the NCAA tournament by getting a top 16 seed. And I think this year what that start does is basically kind of erase that possibility for them. So the tournament is still in play. They've got to win the A10, probably the A10 tournament. But they're not going to get a top 16 seed again. So they're just going to have to kind of fight, an extra game through the tournament, basically, is what it comes down to. But they're going to be all right. Long term, they're going to be all right. It almost sounds like the argument you're making, against the non-conference is kind of like the NBA teams, the super teams who kind of give their players a lot of regular season rest and kind of just build for a playoff run.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think I've said this before in that, I mean, back when I worked for Ann Cordes, she would refer to it as preseason, the entire non-conference schedule. That's how she would actually like talk about it. It was and the players would too. It was very odd. But I guess that's, I think she just knew that there was no way they were going to make the NCAA tournament. So we're going to stack the big teams on. And if we get beat, we get beat. And if, we win,
Yeah.
we're ready for the A10 season.
Right.
Has there been any talk? I haven't seen anything. Hannah Larson, I know it was a horrific, catastrophic, I should say, ACL injury or what, a ligament injury. Have we heard anything about her potentially returning this season at all? Did we get any news on that? And I'm just bringing this up. I apologize. I'm just
not that I've seen, unfortunately. my understanding is that, everything's on track, like she's all right for long term, but I have just been kind of counting on her not being around this season, but I don't know.
Yeah. One other loss that they have right now, Bree Halverson's out again. She missed an entire season, I believe 2019, with an injury, and she's out. I don't know why, but she did not travel to Kansas. So it's tough go for the women so far. Injuries, losses. We'll see how they continue. But September 2nd, this Thursday, they welcome the Louisville Cardinal, the women's side, in town. This is it's a good test. It's a big school, and we got to see how they do against a team that may not be, a power, but is also, a power conference team.
Right. Yeah, they're still an ACC program, and they're coming into your place. So I think this is one of those kind of statement games, like we can actually beat a power conference team this season. We can beat and I know it's not as big a deal in some of the non-revenue sports as it is in, men's basketball or football or something like that. But I think after losing to Xavier and Iowa and Kansas to start the season, it's like, okay, we can beat a Valley team, but you've got to beat an ACC team and then build on that. So I think this is a big game. Regardless of what Louisville is going to do this season, I think this is a big game for their confidence.
Yeah, this is a Louisville team that's coming off a 4-4 record in conference in 2020. They had a weird out of conference situation. They beat Dayton 1-0. And lost Auburn in Western Kentucky 1-0. And then their final two games were canceled against Tennessee and Wake Forest. So, and then this season, I believe they are 4-0, with 3-0 with wins over Western Michigan, James Madison, Northern Kentucky, 6-2, 4-3, and 3-0 respectively. So it's a team that can put up a lot of goals. So we've talked about the defensive struggle of the Billikens. It's time to step up without Bree Halverson in the lineup.
Yeah, and that's depending on how long she's out. And I know information is a little harder to come by, for some of our non-revenue sports that aren't as heavily covered. But depending on how long she's out, that kind of, I think what you called before, transition defense has been a struggle for them this year. So definitely got to get that in order, without her energy and experience in the lineup.
Yep. Next up, on the 5th of September, they will play. Why can I not find women's soccer on the Purdue women's soccer? They are 2-2 with I can't even tell if this is this is 2000. I'm screwing up, guys. Sorry. We were on a roll and then I just totally biffed. I can't tell anything from their website. Purdue comes to town on September 5th. Sorry, guys. I'm screwing that up bad. But Purdue's website was not working for me. And then September 9th, Thursday, Missouri State comes to town. This is a good regional rivalry. I love seeing the regional teams come to town.
Yeah, and we already, we saw them on the men's side already. The men's program's awesome. The women's program's not great. Last season they were one of the weaker teams in the Valley. I think that's also true of Purdue in the Big Ten. They were a bottom half Big Ten team, not bad, but sub 500 in the Big Ten. So I think those are both. They're not as good as Louisville, either of those teams, but they're both games that SLU's got to win.
Yeah, what does scare me about when you say the bottom half of the Big Ten? Let's go back to Iowa, who was last place in the Big Ten, or Big 12. Are they? I don't know. Whatever.
No, they're Big Ten.
Big Ten, yeah, they're Big Ten. Last place. They go to the NCAA tournament. They come in to St. Louis, win 1-0. So Purdue will be an interesting game. Missouri State's certainly going to be an interesting game as well. And then Indiana State on September 12th. Again, another Valley team. Nice to see them come in. And yeah, it's a busy week for the Billikens.
Yeah, it is. Indiana State, it's another one of those, it's another bus ride, it's another game in Indiana. Little closer than Purdue, I guess, to St. Louis. And they're Missouri State's a bottom half Valley team. They're a top half Valley team. They're probably not the team that's going to win the conference, but it's another road test. And I don't know. I don't know what you call a must win at this point, but they're a little bit better than Purdue or Missouri State. So that's a tougher team, and maybe a chance to get a nice win before you get into conference play.
Yeah, last season, SLU women's soccer beat Indiana State 3-0. So that was the first game of the season for them as well. Moving on, if I can find my notes here, because I have so many damn tabs open. We got volleyball. Oh boy, volleyball.
This is where I go on mute and let Zach rant.
Yeah, all right. So volleyball got me all excited. They got me hot and bothered. And it was on the court. 3-0 win or 3-0 win over Mizzou at Mizzou, 25-20, 25-19, and 25-23. A solid win. Looking back, like now, not so solid. Mizzou ends up going 0-3 in that tournament. But anytime you beat a power conference team in straight sets, Mizzou tends to be pretty good. However, they turn around and lose to Creighton in straight sets 3-0, and it's not particularly close. 25-15, 25-20, and 25-16. After that, they go on and lose in 5 to Kansas City, the Roos, 16-25, 25-20, 25-21, and then drop the last 2 sets. I mean, it reminds me of that first game against Dayton last year where they sneak up on Dayton, kick their butts for 2 sets, lose the third, and then win the fourth. And then in the doubleheader, second half, they get run off the court 3-0.
Yeah.
This team's going to, and I posted on the message board, you can go read it. This team's going to live and die by Maya Taylor and whether or not their opponents know how can defend Maya Taylor, because they're a below average team with a really, really good outside hitter. And that's going to carry you against bad teams. And it's going to carry you to a 3rd place finish in the A10, because the only team that can match you or better are VCU and Dayton. And they are way better than you with more options. So what's going to happen, and you guys can quote me on this, I'm putting it on record, is again, we're going to we may lose 1 game in the A10 that's not Dayton or VCU. But I promise you, we will not beat VCU or Dayton this year. And we will finish 3rd. That's what's going to happen. You guys can quote me on that. It's happened every year. This is what he sets up. This is what Kent Miller sets up and why he's been coach for a decade. It's nutty. I don't get it.
I don't disagree with any of it. We've got both Dayton and VCU home and home this season. I guess that's how it goes in the conference. And I will definitely be writing your prediction down. I already have.
Good.
So we can hold you accountable at the end of the year. But I think you're probably right. We were all excited about that Mizzou win. Mizzou's a team that went to the NCAA tournament last season, but I think it's become abundantly clear over the course of the weekend that they are just not the same team, and it's a rebuild year for them. And then, very, very frustrating loss to Kansas City.
I can excuse a loss to Creighton. Creighton's a very good volleyball program.
Sure. Yeah. You maybe don't want straight sets, but we weren't expected to win that game. But the loss to Kansas City is a little more perplexing. It feels like one that got away.
You're not allowed to lose to an in-state team. If on the like Missouri's one thing. To lose to Missouri would be one thing, but you're not allowed to lose to a smaller conference team in state. You cannot lose to SEMO. You can't lose to Missouri State. You can't lose to UMKC. You sure as hell can't lose to Truman State or Missouri S&T either. I don't want any of them. None of them. So anyway, I digress. Coming up for them, the SLU Invitational will be this weekend. Arkansas State, UAPB, that's Arkansas Pine Bluff, and Missouri State come to town. Or sorry, not Missouri State, Murray State come to town. So that again, that's not exciting. All those teams, I think they maybe have 10 wins combined last season among them. The only true home game after that is Carbondale, only true non-conference home game. Then they head to Missouri State, and I
think Carbondale's on the road actually.
Is it? Dang.
I believe so.
Let me see.
I don't think they're back home until conference after the Billiken.
Oh, you know what? You're probably right. Because I think I made a point of actually saying that, yep, you're right. 6 p.m. at SIU Carbondale. So sorry, Billiken fans, my bad.
Well, I mean, they've got to win the Billiken Invitational. Right. It's their only remaining home games until conference. And then they've got a lot of kind of tricky, odd road, I guess not odd. They're playing in Springfield and Peoria, but they're playing a lot of teams that we normally wouldn't see. Right.
So after Carbondale, they head to Springfield, Tulane, Louisiana Monroe, and Missouri State. Missouri State puts out a decent program. They really have in the Missouri Valley. So that'll be a test for them. Actually, all these games are going to be a test because, frankly, they're not very good. Field hockey. Quick update. They played Kent State and Michigan State, I believe, in Kent, Ohio. They took 2 losses. Not all that surprising. 4-0 to Michigan State, 3-0 to Kent State. And then upcoming, one of their best chances to win a game this season will be Ball State. Ball State has 2 losses, one of them being to Bellarmine, and I think SLU beat Bellarmine last season. So I think this is their opportunity to get on the board early this season with an actual decent Division I win.
Yeah, for sure. They, this is all you can ask of this program and this coach and everything. Is just get a little bit better every season. It's just not been a competitive program. So yeah, to get a win against Ball State, and then they've got a couple, neutral events tough. Coming up. Yeah.
Right. A neutral game against UC Davis in Columbus, Ohio. That's probably going to be tough. I know Iowa will be super tough on the 12th, and Ohio is also
in Iowa City.
Yep. Yeah. That'll be a tough one as well. So that's what's going on in the world of Billiken athletics. And like you said, incremental progress for field hockey. That's all I really want to see. I mean, it doesn't get the support it probably needs to be even a moderately successful program, and that's unfortunate. But the reality of college athletics, there are women's sports that are just kind of there to be there.
I think probably of every program at SLU, it's probably the one that gets the least. I don't know if support's the right word, but attention maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, just incremental progress till it gets to a point where people start taking a look at it and maybe building some momentum.
Yeah, I agree. Odds and ends. Anything that we might have missed, or anything you thought of while I was jabbering away over here on volleyball?
Well, the 2 big stories really this week are that fall sports are in full swing now, as you can tell by the content of our show today. And then, the men's basketball schedule, which we can't say enough good things about. So other than that, I don't think there was a whole lot of news.
Yeah, I think that's one thing. I had Chad Zwerline, associate AD, great friend to me since he's gotten here. He got engaged, so congratulations to him and his fiance. And then one thing I thought was kind of wild was, and I don't know if I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and talk about coronavirus, but or masking or vaccinations, but to have the cheerleaders mask and not the dancers at the soccer game, kind of weird. That's all I'll say. I don't know. I mean, you want to mask both, but unmask both. I don't care. Right.
Yeah. Just send a consistent message.
Not even that. I just think it's kind of asinine in my, and that's my favorite word. So yeah, I just think it's just kind of a bizarre thing. I don't know. Anyway, guys, again, the Travis Ford interview, if you have not gotten to it yet, and looking at the numbers, I don't think anybody that listens to our show has not gotten to it yet. But go check it out. It's unbelievable. And you guys have been unbelievable. I can't thank everybody for the support. Both, Billiken fans and people in my life, and I'm sure people in Pete's life, his personal life as well, have reached out and had great things to say. What else? I had one thing and then I just forgot what it was. Oh, just to reiterate, the Kevin Lish part 2 will be dropping Monday morning at 8 a.m. I'll go ahead. I'm going to get it uploaded in the system this week. We will not be recording this Sunday due to my schedule with the triathlon being that day, and just there's no point in trying to schedule it and whatever. Yeah, thank you guys for listening, and make sure you follow us on social media, on YouTube, Midtown Madness Podcast, and on Twitter, Midtown Mad Pod. And we'll talk to you in a couple weeks. And I hope you guys enjoy the Kevin Lish interview. It's awesome.
Yeah, if you're new to us and haven't listened to the first half, go back, listen to the first half of that. If you know Kevin Lish at all, anything about him, I think you'll really enjoy it. And then we've got another almost as long half of that coming up. So yeah, be sure and go listen to both. And then if you enjoyed the Ford one, the Lish one, any of that, please share it with anybody who you think might be interested. We've been really getting some good feedback on these. So again, thank you. And yeah, feel free to go back and sort of fill in the gaps on anyone you may have missed in the past. And then everybody be sure and give Zach a little love this week as he prepares for his triathlon. He's been really training hard. I know he's working. It's been like his life basically for a few months now.
It kind of has.
So I think he's ready to go. I think he's going to do great, and give him a little love on Twitter or wherever you can.
Yeah, I should have probably started off this podcast by welcoming anybody who wasn't listening, because I'm sure, there are people that kind of have discovered the podcast through the Travis Ford interview. So
maybe they subscribed by accident when they just went to download it.
Yes. So yeah, definitely. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, if you haven't rated us yet, and again, Pete, thank you for the kind words about my race this weekend. I'm excited. I'm excited to link up with Ford Stewin's sister and their dad. They are running it as well, as they mentioned as Travis Ford mentioned in the interview. So excited to meet them. And excited to get this done. Not to get this done, but get it going. So as long as I don't freak out in the lake, I think I'll be fine.
No, you'll do great.
Thanks. All right, guys, have a good one, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Go Bills.
Go Bills.